Thanks for downloading another segment from the Best of the Classic Metal Show. The Classic Metal Show is heard live on Saturdays from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. And now here's another piece of Classic Metal Show history on the Best of the Classic Metal Show.
The Classic Metal Show.
You probably recognize the guitar playing right there. That, of course, a song called The Reaper, and the Reaper himself is on the line, Mr. Steve Vai. Steve, how are you, man?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Excellent, man. Well, Steve, not that you have any shortage of music that's ever being written, recorded, or released, but you're back with almost 3 hours of live DVD called Where the Wild Things Are. I guess the first place to start, man, is where do you find the time to keep writing so much stuff and recording and playing and, just being the ever-present musician?
Well, probably the same place that you find the time to edit this interview and, make it and put it up live. That's what we do. It's great.
Sure.
We become more time managers than anything else, but no, it's a compulsion too.
Excellent.
You get an idea for something and you just like turn into you go into a trance and you just do it,
Right. Well, you're no stranger to live releases. You've obviously done some live stuff in the past. What made this specific tour and this specific show special enough to you that you wanted to put it out for the fans?
Well, whenever I go into a project, I challenge myself to do something unique that I've never done before, and that hopefully hopefully has never been done before. And my first live record was just that. I mean, it was a record that had all new material. It was recorded. The music that was written specifically with the cultural music from various countries in mind. And then I went out to those countries and recorded the songs. And I've got Celtic song that I wrote that. Parts were recorded in Ireland and stuff that was recorded in Bulgaria, Romania, Italy, all over the world. So that was really probably the most ambitious live record ever recorded. So when it came time to do, this band and this live recording and this DVD, I wanted to challenge myself. So what I did was I found these two violin players.
Okay.
That were really the hottest violin players I've ever heard, really, and just so perfectly suited for what I do because they're not like, metal shredders.
Okay.
But they're not, classical wimps.
Right.
You gotta in this band, you got to be able to read. For them, I needed people who could read music but can also rock out.
Sure.
So I took a whole bunch of songs from my catalog, and I just created this show with these violin players in my band that's just really dimensional and beautiful and melodic and intense and all the things that I like to see when I put a show on, when I go to see a show.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see great musicianship, but I don't want to be beat up by somebody's musical intellect.
Sure.
And a lot of times people expect that that's what they're just going to get at my shows, but they're really... I also make a very conscious effort to make it a sharing, uplifting experience for everybody, the audience and everything. So, that's what I set out to do.
That's good. Now, is it difficult for you? I mean, obviously, like you said, you're working with world-class musicians. I mean, on the highest level of performance scale. With that in mind, is it hard to put together a band that you can go out and actually feel like a band versus something that would end up being a little more sterile, which this clearly isn't?
Well, it's all according to the attitude of the performers. I mean, the first thing that I look for in somebody for the band is somebody with a great personality, because when you go out on tour, for the kind of tours that I do, it's like a chunk of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're living with somebody on a bus for a chunk of your life, there's no secrets at sea.
Right.
You get to know everything about them, about all their idiosyncrasies, and people who may have a sour disposition, miserable son of a bitches,
Right.
or jerks or whatever, When you go out on tour, they become really miserable and big jerks, and it can ruin the whole experience. And it doesn't matter how many records you're selling. if you look back at your touring experience and it was something that soured because of some bad eggs, the whole thing is like a dark part of your life, you know? So if you go out, if you choose people that are really fun-loving and considerate and supportive, and, you know, when they get out there on tour, they become really fun and they become very considerate, and it's like a family. And this band, and like the previous band I had with Billy Sheehan and Tony McAlpine and those guys, it was like a family.
Right.
You know? And we take every moment we can to make acknowledgments about how fortunate we are to be in these positions. And this band in particular, you know, when I look back at this tour, it doesn't matter if we sold 10 tickets or, you know, well, I mean, it would matter if that, but, you know, it wouldn't matter if the tour was a failure and the record never got done. You know, the band, it's a bright part of my life. It's like a bright moment in my life. Fortunately, the tour was a screaming success, and I got a beautiful DVD out of the deal.
Sure.
And whenever I look at that DVD and I see the people and I hear the music, it just brings me back. You know, because when you're touring, man, it's like, it's a different world completely. It's so different than your normal life.
Right.
It's like freedom when you're out there in a way. You know, it's like you're not so bound by, you know, certain things. Because when I go out, you know, I don't even, you know, I make myself very unaccessible.
Right.
So, you know, only my wife and my family and my tour manager and band and manager know how to get a hold of me.
Perfect.
And it's great.
I hear you, man. Well, Steve, you know, I mean, it's no secret with your career. I mean, it's very much built in a world all of its own. You know, I mean, clearly, and I know you know this, you're regarded as a virtuoso player, but at the same time, I don't think you've ever been classified into that, you know, just speed player, speed picker type of a boo type of a player. You know what I mean? You've always written songs that were very layered and very thought out, and you let the guitar almost act as the vocalist on most of your material. Now, looking back at your career, though, I think probably more people than less know you from your stints with David Lee Roth and Whitesnake. Do you look back now at that as good creative decisions for you as a musician, not necessarily as smart business decisions or whatnot, but just for you personally, who seems to be so creative of a writer, were those projects that you were in satisfying?
Well, they were very good business decisions.
Sure, absolutely.
But ultimately, you know, at the core of who I am as a musician, even though, you know, I have all this vast compositional knowledge and my music is very compositional, I'm a rock musician. I grew up in the 70s with Led Zeppelin and Queen and Jethro Tull, and, you know, that stuff is just so ingrained in me. I love the energy and the feel of playing, you know, aggressive rock music, you know, whether it's layered, you know, with written notes or not. So when I had the opportunity to be in those bands in the 80s, they were fantastic opportunities. I mean, come on, man, you know.
Yeah.
Playing with David Lee Roth when he quit Van Halen, that was like party time.
Right.
And the music was fantastic. I mean, what guitar player wouldn't want to get up there and play, you know, some Van Halen songs with David Lee Roth? That was just the bomb. And then, you know, and I got to write my own music. You know, when I'm in a band like that and I go to write music, I have to work within the parameters of what the band is all about. Mm-hmm. And that's not a problem for me because I was successful at it because that kind of music resonates with me. If I had to sit there and write country music, you know, I would have not taken the job.
Sure.
You know, and then, but, you know, and it was an opportunity to, you know, to play the part of a big rock star too, you know, and it was fun.
Right.
I mean, you know, in the 80s, in those rock bands, if you know, any kind of vice that you craved could be made available to you in abundance, whether it be sex, drugs, dough, you know, whatever it is. And you know, I was always kind of like a bee that was sipping the honey from the rim of the cup.
There you go.
You know, I never fell in and drowned, you know.
Sure.
Because I knew that if I did fall in, I would drown.
Right. I hear you. Well, Steve, looking back to your own personal career, I want to talk about one project that you have that in my eyes, I would say is the most creative thing you've ever done, just by the concept more than the music itself, and that's the Naked Tracks release, the box set. Where in the world did you come up with the concept? I mean, it just doesn't seem like the concept most guitar guys would come up with of, you know what, I'm going to put out a CD, but I'm going to take my tracks off it and let you guys use this as, you know, a learning experience. It's a great concept.
Well, like I said, I whenever I approach a project, I put up parameters to challenge myself to do something unique for myself that I've never done before, and also hopefully something that has never been done before. And that particular project was one of the ones that was unique for me and also no one had ever done before. And you know what's interesting is when I look back to when I was younger and I would come up with all these ideas, they seem very natural and very practical to me. I mean, there's not a lot of thought involved in the idea of, hey, let me mix this song without the lead guitar so that I can play along to the track.
Right.
And, and then, I just take it one step further and I say, well, why don't I mix all of my melody songs like that so that one day in the future I'll be able to release a 5 CD box set that has all of my songs karaoke style so that, guitar players can play to it and I can play to it. That's a 25-year-old idea that took that much time to mature.
Nice.
But I was patient and I had the vision and I just stuck to it and I did it.
Sure.
And it's the same thing like with, I have a record out called The Seventh Song. And for my first solo record, I've made the seventh song on every record, the beautiful, searing guitar ballad.
Right.
Because I knew that one day I'd be able to release a record that was a compilation of all these 7 songs. And sure enough, 20 years later, I released this record, and it's a beautiful compilation of all these 7 songs. And, there's going to be a second volume that comes out.
Excellent. Very cool.
So, it seems like, where did you get this great idea? But it's not a great idea. It's just a stupid, simple idea that I just did.
Yeah, but the difference is you did do it where no one else in, 50 years of rock history has, so.
Well, that's because of 2 reasons. One of them is I didn't listen to anybody that told me I couldn't do it. And B, I'm very independent and I do what I want.
Right. Definitely. Well, Steve, one more quick question I have for you. One thing that I know about guitar players, and I'm not a guitar player, I'm the hack guy, the guy that can strum along to Stairway to Heaven, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But the one thing I do know from every guitar player I've ever met is all you guys seem to want to do is play. You'll play it anywhere, you'll play it any time, you'll play any style. You guys just like to play. Now with that in mind, go ahead.
Don't you think that's the case with you?
I'd love to be able to get to that point.
Well, you just said you do. I mean, hacking at a guitar is fun, man. Everybody should do it. The guitar, everybody should play some instrument because it's like a birthright.
Sure.
It's a great expression, and the guitar is the coolest instrument in the world. Come on, let's face it.
Sure. Oh, I agree. Now,
everybody should play the guitar. And you know what? If anybody listening to this interview is going to take anything away from it,
sure.
I would recommend that you pick up a guitar and play it and not worry about anything.
Sure, absolutely.
Because a lot of people don't pick up a guitar because they think they don't have the time, they think that they're not good enough, they don't want to embarrass themselves or whatever, but that's all crap. Just pick it up and just hack at it. It's fun.
Sure. Now for you, is it fun to play with somebody, of a far less ability?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I just employ different brain muscles. I mean, I enjoy playing with anybody that has a heart and has ears.
Excellent.
Because when you're playing with somebody, it's a sharing experience, But you have to play with somebody that's listening. Jamming with another musician, or writing a song with somebody, or collaborating with anybody on any level, or even having a conversation with anybody for that matter, is striking the right balance of being interesting and being interested.
Sure.
And it's the same thing when you're playing. So I've played with musicians who were considered phenomenal virtuosos that I would rather play to a wall you know. And
Right.
I played with guys who could barely move their fingers around and had a really wonderful time.
Excellent. Well, Steve, I know you've got to jump, so the new DVD is called Where the Wild Things Are. And Steve, as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track. So why don't you pick something from your catalog that we could end the interview with?
Okay, how about something off of the DVD?
Okay.
And there's a song called Now We Run, which is the second track on the CD.
And why that one?
And, sorry?
And why that song?
Because it really is intense and dimensional, and it's got, you know, such great layers in it, and just pretty cool track.
Excellent. Well, let's check it out. This is brand new Steve Vai right here on your Classic Metal Show.
Thanks for checking out the Best of the Classic Metal Show. You can tune into the Classic Metal Show live every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com.
The Classic Metal Show.